Good morning, world. Top of the mirror. I didn't get my sleep. I only had about 5 hours of sleep. I went to bed at like four, like I don't know, 4:40. Yeah. So I'll show you guys. I'm gonna get my beer and my smokes, right? And later on today I'm gonna get my slices, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. All right, you start that pro hockey league. Would you have loved to play with like Ovechkin, Crosby, McDavid, McKinnon, and all those guys? Oh yeah, Subban. It would have been cool to play. Yeah, that's why they're gonna be crushed. Yeah, and I would love to play hockey with you, man, and be part of that glory with you, man. Yeah, especially at Team Canada in the Olympics. Assuming I was a star player. All right, do you know you would make Team Canada? If I was a star player, they would automatically choose me for Team Canada because they know what. As long as I'm playing, the league makes more money. But yeah, even like I'm the main reason why the league is making all that money. So if I'm a star player, they will put me in the Team Canada team. Guaranteed, they will to build more hype and but I have to be a star player. If I'm not a star player, I will not make Team Canada. You guys understand? Yeah, if you want to play in the Olympics with these other players, Team Canada, Team USA, and all that stuff, you have to be a star player. But if I'm a star player, they will put me on. I will make the team, and they will put me on the team. Ivan Bear is the main event. He's the one who builds mainly all the hype and buzz, obviously, and that's how the more I get, more people will tune in, obviously, right, to the games. The other star players in the main event, but I'm ultimately the main event. The world mainly cares about me, right, more than they care about the other players, obviously. They care about the other players too, though. Star players, I'm the main event. That's why Crosby and McDavid and all these guys are crush. Yeah, all right, man, you're gonna crush us, man. We missed out on all that fun and that glory and all that wealth, man, being famous with you, man. I'd rather be a pro hockey athlete with you. And yeah, they're gonna be crushed, obviously. Yeah, they'll be crushed, those guys. Yeah, even like I'm not kidding around. Like you're gonna crush us, man, if you do that. Yeah, they are. They're gonna be crushed, obviously. Yeah. Will they be really crushed? Oh yeah, they're gonna. I'm gonna hurt them, obviously. They're gonna be crushing that athletes because they may be famous, but they're not even close to being as famous as the players playing. The players playing my league are world famous, man. They're fucking famous athletes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, actors are famous, but they have like local fame. They're only famous in Canada and like places in the States. Players in my league are world famous, man. They're all famous all over Europe, Canada, and the States. And you're looking at all of Canada, all of America, all of Europe, whatever it is, a good chunk of Europe tuning into the games, man. NHL doesn't get that kind of viewership. Yeah, they have a few million people tuning in per game for each season game. For me, it's like hundreds of millions of people tuning into the games, man. It's crazy. Yeah. Mainly my games, right? But a lot of fans also tune into the other games too, obviously. To support their team's play, they tune in, they watch all their 82 games the teams play, right? Yeah. Oh, that's funny, I know. Yeah. you have stat keepers, like, of course, you have to hire stat keepers who keep track of all the stats for all the players, like when they make for their careers. You need stat keepers in pro sports. Otherwise, how could they be inducted into the Hall of Fame if they don't keep track? Yeah, in all pro sports, they track all your stats. They have stat keepers who keep track of the stats. You have to hire a lot of guys for that, right? Yeah. I don't know where the stat keepers are in the games, but they're there somewhere who track all the stats of all the players. Yeah, I don't even know how the fuck they do that, but they must be a bunch of guys. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a bunch of stat keepers, probably 10, maybe 15 guys a game who track all the stats. That's how it works. When a player makes a play, they gotta like write it down. And, yeah, I always wondered, did they ever make error with any of the stats? Are they maybe 5 points off, 10 points off? I always wondered that. But chances are they're not. There is no error. They're accurate, obviously, right? Yeah. Why? Do you think you're a bit too harsh on CFL? Yes, I was. All you guys play CFL. I know anything about the guy. You're a fucking dick right now. You hurt us, man. That's pretty harsh what you said, man. Like this is our careers. You're exposing the league we work in. Yeah, I know. I was a bit harsh and I took it on the league, but I'm sorry, man. Like what the league has been doing is fucking cold, man. They close doors on all the Canadian draft like pigs, and they just bring up all these American guys from the States who are they put on a negotiation list and they have to be the stars over their own droppers. I'm sorry, man. The reason why we do that, man, we have to protect our league, our investments, our sponsorship. The Canadian players are not good enough quality products to sell to Canadian people on television. We can't, and the ticket holders, it's not good enough. We can't have these guys be the stars. I mean, that's what the CFL brings the American guys on. That's funny, I know. Yeah, that's why they do that, right? Yeah, we don't. The Canadian players are not good enough. I'm sorry, man. That's why they do that, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. All American players are equal. Yeah, and the reason why we're the stars up here because your best Canadian players are not talented enough either. That's why we're the stars up here. I get that, guys, but like this is not your country. You're not from here, man, and your dream was not playing here. You're only here, guys, by default, right? Otherwise, you never would have been here, right? The Canadian players, their dreams playing here, man. Their dreams playing in CFL. When you watch the interviews at the draft, all the Canadian players say their dreams playing in CFL. Yeah, I want to play pro football. I want to play in the CFL. That's their dream. They don't care about the NFL. Yeah, some of them will take NFL opportunities, but they don't care about the NFL because they know the NFL is not their league. The NFL is not for the Canadian players. That's why the NFL doesn't draft Canadian players. Well, in rare cases, they draft one guy, right? Yeah, there's exceptions, obviously, but like the NFL is not for the Canadian players. It's for the American players. That's why they don't draft Canadian players. They draft all the best American players. Obviously. Unless the Canadian player is rare talent, they can draft that player, but like it's very rare for a Canadian player to get drafted in the NFL. Chances are they're unsigned, undrafted free agents. There's only maybe like 2-3 playing in the league. Obviously. Because the NFL also closes the doors on the Canadian players too, obviously. But it's not their league. That's why barely any of them are stars. They end up on a practice roster or they're yeah. Because they have the bias towards Canadian players and the what? The NFL is for the American football players. It's not for the Canadian football players. That's why the Canadian players don't really care about the NFL because they know it's not their league. Yeah, it's for the American players. It's not for the Canadian players. Like, duh, that's why all the draft picks are all American players. But CFL's for the Canadian players. It's not for the American players, obviously. Yeah, that's why the CFL doesn't draft American players, obviously, because they know the American players are the CF the CFL's not for the American players, for the Canadian players. That's why they draft the best players in Canada. They don't draft American players, obviously. Because how it works in every pro league, all the players you draft, they're all the best players from that country. That's how it works. So the C and so the CFL is not going to draft undrafted players in the NFL. No, they draft the best players in Canada. Obviously, because the CFL's for the Canadian football players. It's not for the American football players. They just choose to lock those and they just bring up all these undrafted guys up here, right? That's how it works. Like, that's funny, I know. Yeah. But in history, there's a few Canadian players who got drafted. The only Canadian players who could get drafted in the league are players who Canadian players who played NCAA football. Some of them are eligible for the draft, obviously, if they play NCAA football, obviously. But there is one O lineman who played football in Canada who was so good, the NFL actually drafted him in the NFL draft. There's a couple other Canadian guys who were drafted, a few here, like maybe a few guys who were drafted, but they played NCAA football instead. They didn't play football in Canada. So like that's why, yeah, they're playing in an American college football league. So they're, even though they're not American, they're playing in the NCAA. Sometimes the NFL might draft maybe one or two, a few Canadian guys. Only a few guys in NFL history have been drafted in the league. But even though they're Canadian players, they're the best talent in Canada. The NFL grabs maybe one guy every like 10 years from Canada, but they're the best talent from Canada. They're not like undrafted Canadian players. No, they're the best talent from Canada, obviously. That's why the NFL, I can take the league more seriously, because even though they drafted like one Canadian guy, that Canadian guy is playing NCAA football in the States, and they killed it in the States, and they draft that NFL, that Canadian player who killed it in the NCAA, obviously. Samsara. Yeah. And if they get maybe one guy from Canada every like 10 years, even though that player is not American, that player that they drafted is the best talent from Canada. It's not like an undrafted talent from Canada. That's why I can take the NFL more seriously than the CFL. The CFL, they do draft the best players in Canada, but they close doors and they just bring up all these undrafted guys, obviously. That's why they don't draft the American guys, the CFL. It's not for the American players, the CFL's for Canadian players, obviously. And they're not the best talent in the States. That's why the CFL doesn't do that, obviously. They're not going to draft guys who are going to draft from the NFL. No. They draft the best players in Canada, and they're the stars of it, and they put the undrafted guys on a negotiation list, and they bring these guys up here, obviously. Yeah. Oh, that's funny, I know. Yeah. Because there are a few Canadian players who do get NCAA scholarships in the States. They play NCAA Div 1. Nathan Rook played NCAA Div 1. He played college in the States, but he didn't make the NFL, but he was drafted in the CFL. Obviously, right? There are some Canadian players who do play college in the States, and the CFL knows about all those guys too, and they draft those guys too. But most of all the draft picks are the players who play football in Canada, and a few of them play in the NCAA, like Div 1, Div 1A, Div 1 AA, like the Canadian guys who play in the States, where that's how it works. Yeah. 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 So it's very weird to see. Well, yeah, like what I always find very weird is the legends. Obviously, when they honor them to the Canadian people, this guy is a CFL legend. He passed for 5,000 yards. Let's honor this man, and they honor him. And the fans love what they did up here, and they respect what they did up here. Obviously, but they're not stupid, man. They know this American player dreams on playing here, man. And the CFL honors those guys and people, so it's very weird. Weird. It's tough for me to take them seriously, obviously. Like I know the dream was not playing, being a legend here when they were kids. They only happened to be here because they didn't get an opportunity to play football in their own country. That's why they're here. They're legends by default. They happen to be legends in a different league that they never dreamed of playing in because they didn't get their full shot. So it's weird. It's a very weird way of growing a league and honoring your legend CFL. But I mean, CFL obviously doesn't care. We don't care, man. Like even though they never dreamed of playing here, they stayed up here. They love you. I get that CFL, but it's a bit weird, man. Like you're honoring these guys to Canadian people, but like their dream was not playing in your league, CFL. Like none of your legends' dream was playing in your league, and you're the only league, pro league that does this, and who grows a league in an irregular, weird way. Obviously, like no pro league does this. Obviously, it's not like no pro league is like this. Obviously, all the pro athletes who are legends in that league dreamed of playing in that league when they were kids, but the CFL is not like that. They're only legends in your league by default. They never dreamed of playing here. All these American guys, they're dreaming of playing in the NFL, not playing in the CFL. That's why it's weird in person. All you hear about is, yeah, I mean, it's a bit weird, man. Like, they honor them, we respect what they're up here, but we know, yeah, their dream was not playing here, guys. Their dream was playing in the NFL, wasn't playing in the CFL. No American football player dreams of being a CFL legend. Nah, man, they dream of being an NFL legend. They don't care about the CFL. They only happen to be playing in league because they didn't get their NFL too. That's why they're here. They're here by default. That's funny, I know. It's weird, man. Yeah, that's weird, man. It's a bit weird, man, for me personally. Yeah, it's a very weird way of growing league CFL, man. Yeah. Well, I guarantee there's some Canadian football fans, Ivan. I know you're harsh on the CFL. I know what the CFL's doing is cold, Ivan. But there's a reason why they do this, Ivan. The Canadian players are not talented enough. That's why they do this, Ivan. They're not talented enough. The quality will down, Ivan. Like, you have to think about the growth of the league. They're not good enough quality products to sell to us, Ivan, the Canadian people. Well, they're good enough for the university students. So it makes you think it's not good enough. And the university students pay for their tickets for the games. That's good enough for them. And those aren't even the best players in Canada. Why do you think it's not good enough for the rest of Canada? Obviously, it's very weird. Yeah. That kind of answers your question. Oh, I mean, it's not good enough, man. Well, it's good enough for the university students, CFL. Most of the games, in most cases, sell out, and the fans buy their tickets, and that's good enough for them. And those are not the best players in Canada. Only like 2 players eligible for the draft. Obviously. I'm sorry, man. It's not good enough. They're a bit raw. It's not good enough quality football. That's why they bring up the American guys. Yeah. Some of you American football fans, I know what CFL's doing is cold, Ivan, in Canada, but maybe what they're doing is right. Maybe your best team is just not good enough. Obviously, they're not good enough. They are good enough, man. I believe they're more than good enough. Obviously, CFL's just too blind to see it. I could be wrong. Maybe they're just not they're not talented enough, man. Yeah, I could be right because they're a bit raw, more raw, and they're a bit more raw in the way they play. They're not good enough, Ivan. That's why they draft the best. Sorry, they bring up the American guys, obviously. 5 days off. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I work Wednesday, right? I get paid next Sunday. Yeah. So you don't think it has to do with the quality of the game? No. It can't be the quality of the game why the CFL is struggling to grow, because the CFL is putting on high quality football, almost as good as the NFL. Not NFL level, it's almost as good as the NFL. It's very entertaining games, and no one in Canada cares about the game. So either people can't. There just isn't a big demand for football in Canada. Obviously, football is not popular in Canada. Obviously, that's why the CFL struggling with growth, and that's why the CFL players are the most underpaid pro athletes in the world, obviously, because the CFL is not popular. All you CFL players are wondering why you're underpaid. You're underpaid because football is not popular in Canada, obviously. That's why you guys are underpaid. Obviously. Yeah. Why do all the sport fans in Canada know about the CFL? Of course they do. All the people in Canada know about the CFL, obviously, but like they don't really care about the game. So it's like either they just don't care about Canadian football. Like they see they market all the quarterbacks like the CFL on TSN. You see like Bo Levi Mitchell and like Zach Caleros. And they market them. You see a picture of them and like the CFL on TSN. They market them on TSN, obviously. TSN's the biggest sports network channel in Canada, man. So when they market these guys, like they market these guys while they're watching like NHL games and other sports. So millions of people are seeing that, and they don't tune into the games. They get like 600,000, 500,000 views, obviously. So obviously people in Canada just don't care about Canadian football, obviously CFL, or they're not resonating with your star American players. I know why, because they're from a different country. When you market these guys, CFL, they don't know anything about these guys. Okay, yeah, I'm not familiar with this product that the CFL is trying to sell. Like I don't know who these guys are. Obviously, they don't know anything about these American guys. Obviously, duh, because they're from a different country, man. They've never seen these guys before. The CFL just brings them up from a different country. They don't know anything about these guys. CFL. That's funny. I know. But CFL's like, all right, we don't care if they don't know anything about them. They put on a show on television. When they put on a show on television, the fans will eventually, yeah, some of the Canadian football fans will recognize these players when they're CFL stars, but they're from a different country. They don't know anything about these guys. They don't even know what school they played at. They don't even know where these guys even came from. They don't even know what city they're from, right? What school they went to, yeah. They don't know anything about these guys. Oh, yeah. That's why CFL does documentaries about them, to give you more history about them, because they know the Canadian football fans don't know anything about these guys, right? This player played at this high school, and they do a beautiful documentary, obviously. They talk about like how the star players, like they all say, yeah, and all the American football players who are stars up here, like they don't want to be assholes and disrespect the CFL. Their dreams not playing here, man. That's why they always say, I had an opportunity to play pro football up north. I didn't get an opportunity. That's what they all say. Because they don't want to disrespect the CFL, obviously. Yeah, Ivan, you're right, man. Like, we don't want to disrespect the league. Like, we love it up here. We're stars are here. But, like, our dream was not playing. Right? We're only here, but yeah, they're only here by default, man. That's why they're here. Otherwise, they never would have been here. Yeah. The CFL doesn't care. Yeah, we don't care if they never want to be here, man. They grow to love it up here. The fans love them. I get that CFL. They kill it up here. The fans love them. But their dream was not playing here, man. And they're even letting you know in the documentaries the Dream's not playing here. They have to. The American players can't lie. Yeah, we can't lie, Ivan. We don't want to disrespect the league. Our dream is not playing here, Ivan. We love it here. We're still successful and everything, playing pro football up here, but our dream was not playing here, Ivan. Our dream was playing in the NFL. They're just here by default. That's why they're here. Yeah. But the Canadian players, it's not like that. Like, their dream is actually playing here. They don't care about the NFL, the Canadian players. Because they know the league is not for them. It's very rare. There's only like a few Canadians in the NFL who are not stars. There's only a few Canadian players who are in the NFL right now. Yeah. And it's very rare for a Canadian player to start. Yeah. I only know, I think, 2 Canadian players who started in the NFL. The old lineman who from McGill University in Canada, he was such an amazing old lineman. The CFL scouts were raving over him, even the NFL scouts. He did a pro day in Canada, and all the NFL, like a bunch of NFL teams went up north to scout that old lineman. Obviously, and then the CFL scouted him too. Obviously. And he was drafted in the 6th round in the NFL. That's how good he was. He was such rare Canadian talent. The NFL actually drafted him in the 6th round. He started in the NFL, man. Played for the Chiefs, and I think he played for the Titans. And he was starting, I think, like right tackle in the NFL. He started. That's how good he was. He started in the NFL, man. That's no lineman. Yeah. And they offered him like a 5-year, 46 like mega deal, but he turned it down to be a doctor. He didn't want to play football. He wanted to be a doctor. He turned on all that dough to be a doctor. I guess he didn't want to play football. Yeah, it's not my dream. I want to be a doctor. Now he's a doctor. There was another tight end who was drafted in the NFL. His name was Luke Wilson. He was a starting tight end in the NFL for like a lot of years. He started in the NFL. Those are like the only 2 Canadians I know who started in the NFL. Obviously. It's very rare for a Canadian player to start in the NFL because the American guys have a bit of the edge over the Canadian guys in talent. And the NFL has a bias towards Canadian players. Don't forget that, right? It's very rare for a Canadian player to start in the NFL. Yeah, we have a bias because, like, this is not their league. Yeah, the NFL is not for the Canadian players. It's for the American players, not for the Canadian players. Yeah. The CFL's for the Canadian players. Yeah. 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 See, Phil, the fact that Team Canada beat Team USA in the IFFU Junior World Challenge, that's how you know the Canadian players are talented enough CFL. They're almost as good as the American players. You're just too blind to see it, man. Yeah, because when I saw the game, Team Canada versus the first time my older stepbrother played, they got destroyed like 41-3 by the Americans. But like 3 years later, the Canadians wiped the floor with Team USA, and I saw the game. The Canadian players were putting on a show, but I noticed a difference. Like even though the Canadian players were putting on a show and they beat the Americans and the best American young like U20, U18, U20 players, whatever it is, the Canadian players looked a little bit more raw in the way they played, but it was good enough for me, and they still beat. But the Americans looked a bit more athletic, but they still beat the Americans, obviously. And the Japanese also beat Team USA too. I'm not lying, guys. Team Japan beat Team USA in the IFF Junior World Championship. I don't know if you guys know about that, right? Like the U20, Team Japan beat Team USA. That's how good the Japanese are. The Japanese are fucking amazing football players. All you guys who play that game, yeah, even they are. Yeah, man, the Japanese are fucking amazing football players, guys. I'm not lying. They almost beat our Team Canada, man. They could have beat our Team Canada. We just came back and won, right? Yeah. Team Canada beat Team USA CFL in the fucking IFFU Junior World Championships. Yeah, they were a bit more raw in the way they played, but they still beat the the Americans, right? It was Team Canada like U18, U19, best players in Canada, obviously versus the best players in the States. U19 and Team Canada beat Team USA. That's how you know CFL, they're more talented now. They're just a bit more raw in the way they play. You just downgrade the Canadian talent, right? Yeah. They beat Team USA like 41, like 20, like 26 or something like that. Yeah, they beat Team USA, Team Canada. Yeah. But I did notice a difference. Like the Canadian players, when they played, they looked a little bit more raw, obviously, but they were still putting on a show. And they beat Team USA. So that's how you know the Canadian players at CFL are more than talented. Now, they're not as talented as the American players, I know that. But they're not, even like they're talented, but like they're a bit more raw in the way they play. It's not like, so yeah, they want to be like the NFL. It's a problem, obviously. Because when you compare the best Canadian players, the best American players in the NFL, it's a significant drop in quality. It's a significant drop. It's a letdown, obviously. It's like a 15% drop when you compare the best players in America. Best players in Canada, it's the CFL season. It's a letdown, obviously. Yeah, it's not. They're not satisfied. That's why they're blinded by American talent. They just choose to bring in the undrafted guys, NFL cuts, and those guys are the stars up here, and they close the doors on the best Canadian players where the drop is. That's cool. I know. Yeah. 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 And I guarantee you all you Canadians in Canada watching, you're probably like, yeah, Ivan, that's weird. Like the best Canadian players in Canada is good enough quality for us, Ivan. The CFL is just weird. Yeah, I guarantee you they think the CFL is probably crazy. Yeah, it's good enough for us. Like all the games, most of the games sell out at the university's CFL, and that's good enough. And the fans pay for the tickets to watch the university kids play, obviously, and it's good enough for them. And they're cheering the players on, and only like 2 players per team are. Those are not the best players in Canada CFL. Only like 2 guys per team eligible for the draft. It's good enough. And the Panda game sells out. It's so popular they play the game at the Ottawa Redblacks Stadium. It sells out with 22, 24,000 fans. The whole thing is sold out. And they cheer the players on, and they're entertained by the game, obviously. So it's like, that's kind of your proof that it is good enough. The CFL's just too blank. See, Ivan, man, it's good enough for university. For pro football, man, it's not good enough. You want it like the NFL, because you're trying to be NFL Canada. That's your problem, right? That's funny, I know. Yeah. I will tell regardless that. Yeah, you got a good point there. All the university games sell out. Most of the games, anyways. Most of the games sell out. Like 7,000, 10,000, 11,000 fans all go to the games and support the university students, and that's good enough for them. And those are not the best players in Canada. Only like two guys. There's only like 2 star players per team who get drafted, and a few undrafted free agent guys, and the rest don't make it to the pros, obviously. So there is a bigger market with the Canadian talent, but I mean, it could flop though because the quality. Yeah, the quality will dip, it will flop. League revenue will dip. We don't trust it. Yeah, it's even, we don't trust the Canadian players. We don't like those guys. We gotta bring up the American guys. I don't know how to be stars up here, shining up here in our fucking country, Canada. It's ridiculous, man. Yeah. Yeah. Why? They're never going to get rid of the American talent. No, because the bias has been passed down since we started, man, for like 70 years, since the 50s, man. It's a bias that's been passed on to the league, right? They've been doing this ever since they started the league. Even when Rush Jackson played, they bring up the American guys. So that works, right? Yeah. So all you American football players play this way, you don't have to worry about losing your jobs, right? CFL's never get rid of you guys, man. They don't think they can AI, and the Canadian players not good enough, man. The American guys just shine up here, obviously. If they got rid of the American talent, all the American players playing in CFL would be crushed because they don't have anywhere else to play pro football. Unless they want to play pro football in Europe or in Japan or something like that, but they don't want to play there, right? Those leagues are not the CFL. CFL's number 2 after the NFL. Obviously, they don't want to play in the UFL. They don't want to play in the arena football. Yeah, we don't want to play there, man. They're such a fucking dick, man. You get rid of us, we have nowhere else to play pro football. Yeah, but guys, there's a UFL, there's the arena football. That's still pretty good, right? If you have a pretty good career there, that's not bad. Like I'm saying, yeah. Ivan, man, we don't want to play there, man. Like CFL is our second choice after the NFL. Yeah, they don't want to be crushed. Yeah, you're gonna crush those guys, man. Obviously, because the CFL's blinded by the like so you care more about the Americans who are undrafted in the NFL to play pro football in Canada over their own draft picks because we don't care about the Canadians, Ivan. We don't like them. They're not good enough. We need to bring the American guys who are sharper, Ivan. In Canada, not our best Canadian players, Ivan, because the CFL's crazy and they're crazy people. Obviously, Ivan, that's cold, I know. Yeah. Yeah. Why does the CFL think the American guys deserve to shine over the best Canadian players? Because they're a bit more talented, they're a bit better. Because they're a bit better than the best Canadian players. Not all of them. Some of them are just as good as the American players the CFL brings up here. But in most cases, the American players are a bit better. That's why the CFL believes they deserve to shine up here. Yeah, like we're not gonna have our best Canadian players shine up here when they're not as talented as the American guys who are undrafted in the NFL. Those guys have no one else to play for football. No. We have to have those guys shine up here and lock those our Canadian players. We're not gonna have our best Canadian players shine up in Canada over these American guys who are a bit more talented. They deserve to be the stars up here. Yeah, I know on CFL, but you've been bringing up these guys for decades, and you've been marketing the Canadian people, and you're only peaking at $300 million in revenue. So obviously, something is not right. Obviously, fans of Canada just don't care about Canadian football, or they're not resonating with the American players, which is understandable because they're from a different country. They don't know anything about these guys, or when you market them, like they don't know anything about these guys, right? They're not your draft picks. They're not your draft picks, CFL. They're just guys you bring up here from a different country and you put on a negotiation list. They're the stars of it. They're not your draft picks, CFL. They're not your draft picks. All pro leagues, their star players are all draft picks, man. Players who got drafted into the league. Because it's common sense. If you want to grow your league, you grow your league with your draft picks, who are more known to the people in that country. People tune into the draft. They saw these players that got drafted. They know these players got drafted. A lot of university students know all the university students know these kids got drafted. But they're obviously not tuning into your games. Otherwise, you'd be peaking at a million plus views a game, obviously. You're only peaking at 600,000 views, which is not bad, but CFL should be doing at least 1 million people watching the game, right? That's how Telegram was. Yeah, man, if you want TSN to give you more money, you have to boost your television ratings to like 1.2 million if you want to get more dough from TSN. But TSN's not going to give you guys more money because you're not producing on the television service, guys. You have to boost your ratings if you want TSN to give you more money. Otherwise, they're not going to give you more money. And if you want all your leagues to be profitable, all your games have to sell out. CFL games and not all their games sell out. You have to sell for all your games, and that's how you make your profit, obviously. Winnipeg Boomers and Saskatchewan Roughriders are the only like 2 teams in the CFL that like sell every game. It's very popular, two most popular teams in the CFL. 2 richest teams in the CFL too. Winnipeg Boomers and Saskatchewan Roughriders are the only teams in CFL that sell out like every game. The other CFL teams don't sell out every game. They'll sell the majority of the games, but a few of the games are maybe 3/4 full. That's why the CFL teams are not profitable, obviously. The rest of the CFL teams are not profitable, obviously, right? Yeah. Ivan, do you believe with the Canadian talent, the games would sell out? Yeah, somebody tells me with the Canadian talent, all the games will sell out. Because they're homegrown talent. Or it doesn't make a difference, right? But the fact that the university football games sell out, that's how you know there is a bigger market with the Canadian talent. Ivan, there is a bigger market with them, we know that, but I'm sorry, Ivan, they're not talented enough. We gotta close the doors on our draft picks and our best Canadian draft picks and just bring up the American guys. Yeah, blind man talent, with the crazy people. Yeah. But I wonder what you Canadians in Canada think. Are the best Canadian players in Canada good enough quality for you guys? Ask you guys a question. Yeah, Ivan, it's good enough for us. Or maybe it's not. Oh, Ivan, it's not good enough. They're a bit raw. That's why the CFL does it, Ivan. I don't know. I wonder what you Canadians in Canada think. Are the best Canadian players, if the CFL got rid of American talent, are they good enough quality football for you? All that matters is it good enough for the Canadian people, right? That's the real question. The real question, CFL, is the best Canadian player is good enough quality football for people of Canada. How do the people of Canada feel about the quality, obviously, of the game with the best Canadian players? Is it good enough for them, or is it not good enough for them? And CFL obviously thinks it's not it's not good enough, man. Obviously. Yeah. Yeah. I hope the league grows, not about the top of the SHL. I'm gonna get my 6 beers and my smokes. I'll get slices later, right? Yeah. Well, you're not going to go any higher than 32 million for the cap? No. I'm not going to go any higher than 32 million for the cap. That's enough for the star players. The generational talent, they can make $35 to $50 million for the first 2 seasons. They gotta take pay cuts. That works for it. I'm not gonna have his athletes do me. $100 for the per dime is good enough for the athletes when they have their away games to pay for their dinner, and they'll be staying at the hotels. Suites, I even know. Don't have them stay at suites. No, they stay at nice hotels, but they're not suites for the away games. And every day that they're in that city, they get $130 per dime. That's to pay for their dinner, or get a beer, or see what we're gonna. That's enough money for the players to pay for their dinner for that, pay for the food for that day, right? $130 is enough. Already paid them enough money, obviously. The players get housing? No, they don't get housing. I'm paying them their millions, they don't get housing. So I'm sorry. As in the big pro sport leagues, the leagues don't give the players housing deals because they're paying them their millions. They can easily afford to pay the bills. The CFL does that because it's the players are not millionaires. That's why the CFL helps them out, and they have housing obviously for the star players because they're not millionaires, right? They're not making the kind of money the other players are making in big pro sport leagues. That's why they do that in CFL. For my league, they're making their millions. They don't get housing, obviously. So that works, right? Yeah. Yeah. That's what Sidney Crosby comment would be crushed. No, that's yeah, I mean, you do that, you're gonna crush us, man. We missed out on all that fun, man, and all that dough, and that fame. I know. I'd rather play hockey with you, Ivan. Be part of that glory with you than be in the NHL, the gatekeepers in the NHL. Yeah, maybe crush us, guys. Because it finally hit their mind. Yeah, like growing up as a kid, I dreamed of playing in the NHL. But Ivan was born into this world with VJ, but we locked the doors on him. And now he's king, and he made like his billions off his book, and he started to probably burn the NHL. And it finally hits him, yeah, like now the SHL is better than the NHL, and all the upcoming generation, their dreams not playing in Ivan's league, not the NHL anymore. It's now the SHL. SHL blows the NHL water. I can pay the players with more money. It's a better job, right? I can pay the players more money. So they're making the NHL, obviously. NHL star players don't make $32 million. No, they peak at like $60 million NHL athletes. That's what they peak at. They make their millions, but they get the lower end of the pie because the league is not generating as much revenue as the other big pro sport leagues. That's why the NHL athletes are most underpaid pro athletes. They get their millions, but they get the lower end peanuts of the millions. Like 12 million, 10 million, 13 million, 14 million, 16 million the NHL players make, right? They get the peanuts. Yeah, I mean, like, we make our millions, man, but we're not, like, it'd be nice for us to make more money. But yeah, the league can't afford to pay guys our money because the league is not doing the revenue that the other pro leagues are doing, guys. That's why you're underpaid. Because hockey is the least popular sport out of those four sports, obviously. Yeah. In America, right? The reason why the NHL is number 4 because it's not as popular in America. It's very popular in Canada. In America, it's not as popular as basketball, football, and baseball. That's why the NHL athletes are underpaid. They're the most underpaid players out of the big 4. They get their millions, but they get the lower end of it, the peanuts, smaller end peanuts of it, right? Oh, that's funny, I know. Yeah. So 32 million isn't good enough for the players. The star players in my league. Players who are non-generational talent, 32 million is their peak. You can't pay them any more than that, guys. I'm not gonna have these athletes stupid, man. Yeah. With their league revenue, they're making like their 50 million with their magazine. They're making like 50 million dollars for like 2 seasons. That's good enough. They have to start taking pay cuts, obviously. Yeah. Yeah, but Ivan, why don't you pay them $40, $50 million? Like Patrick Mahomes makes like $50 million. Yes, I get that, but 50 million is too much for a player who's not non-generational. That's crazy. They're not worth that. With the league revenue making like 64 million, they're not worth that, man. Rip me off. No, they get 32 million. Only generational talent gets that money. Other guys are not worth it. About how guys do me. But to keep them happy, I'll give you league revenue. And chances are the GMs are going to pay the players like the high end. They're going to pay all these star players 14 million of the league revenue. The agents are going to demand, yeah, we want the high end of the league revenue. And they paid them like 12, 15, 14 million league revenue, and they're making more money, more than what making NHL, more than what most pro athletes make in their career. Obviously, on average, right? But there are some star players who will make their 20, 25 million a season, which is still good. But their league revenue is still making like their 30 plus $1 million. Still a lot of money. They don't make that in the NHL. And pay the players their league revenue at the end of each season. So it's kind of like a bonus. They calculated, okay, yeah, here's your check. Your $14 million of league revenue is owed to this player, and the player gets that check. And their agent takes 5% of that. Don't forget that, right? Of their money. That's how it works in pro sports. Agents take 5% of the players' earnings. Sport agents, right? That's how it works. The players are all going to be represented by agents, obviously, in my league. Sport agents, right? They take 5% of the pro athletes, the pro hockey players' earnings, obviously. Do you have an agent, Ivan? No, I don't have an agent. I don't need an agent. I'm not going to have an agent take 5% of my money. You fucking crazy. I'm not worth that. I don't need an agent. I own the league. I have the keys. I don't need an agent. I'm the only guy in the league who doesn't have an agent. My deal is with the league. I don't need an agent. So all the players in my league are represented by sport agents, except for me. I don't have any agents. I don't need an agent. Obviously, because I own the league. Why the fuck would I get an agent when I fucking own? I pay for the fucking thing. I only. I don't need an agent. Yeah. 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 That's why SHL bully SHL water. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna crush us, man. We're gonna be crushed. I'm most likely movies are guys. The SHL acts are gonna be crushed, obviously. Yeah. Ivan, how crushed will it be? Oh yeah, they're gonna be really crushed, man. Yo, man, you do that, man. You're gonna hurt us, man. You're gonna crush us, Ivan. Yeah, they're gonna be crushing the NHL athletes because they missed out on the opportunity, obviously, to be pro athletes in Ivy League. Right? Yeah, I'd rather play hockey with you, the fucking gatekeepers in the NHL, and make way more money than what I make in the NHL. Yeah, that's what the NHL will even tell all the sport agents. Yeah, sorry, we can't compete with the SHL. Ivan has the keys. He has bigger pockets than us. He can easily pay you guys more. We can't. We can only pay you like $60 million, guys. Ivan can pay the star players like 20, 25, $32 million and give them league revenue. We can't afford to pay players that kind of money because the league's not doing enough money to pay the players that. But my league is doing more enough money to pay the players more than double than what they make in the NHL, right? I need to easily pay the players more, but they're not worth it more. Now, I'm not gonna have a $300 million cap and have these guys stupid, right? $200 million is enough for the cap. I'm not gonna have these athletes stupid. That's what the actual bully actual water. Let's see. But going back to CFL, I could be wrong. Maybe the Canadian talent is not the answer because they're just not talented enough to put on Yive. And the reason why the CFL does that, even though it's cold, The Canadian players are not talented enough. I disagree, man. There's a lot of great Canadian players who were drafted in the league who would have been amazing star franchise players in the league, but they didn't get that opportunity because they closed the doors on them because of the American bias. Obviously. Yeah. Had you got rid of the American talent, these Canadian players would have been, even going forward, I think you're right, man. There's a lot of Canadian players who got drafted in the first like 4 rounds in the CFL. Had you got rid of the American talent, they would have been amazing players, man. They're not as good as the American guys in most cases, but they would have been amazing players up here. But they had limited opportunities to shine because the doors are locked on them, and they just bring up all these American guys, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope the league grows. I don't think the guys. Anyways, guys, this is our guys always show. I'm gonna go to the store, get my 6 beers and my smokes. I'm gonna come back home and enjoy the show with you guys. I'm signing off. Peace. SHL, the NHL. Peace out, guys. Only him, son.